I did want to take a moment and recognize that we lost former Congressman William Clay, and sort of a childhood hero of mine.
Oh, wow.
When I was coming up. He served 32 years in Congress, one of the founders of the Congressional Black Caucus. I happened to work for John Conyers. I didn't know him very well, but I did have a chance to meet him. And
Terrific
you know,
guy.
he was an outstanding man. And I was there at Terrence Taylor's funeral today. Congressman Hoyer spoke, and was outstanding as always. Equally brief, but outstanding as always. I did want to say this, and I take Congressman Pokin's comments to heart. To my colleagues on the other side, I would say this: we have different philosophies about things that we want to get done, and I know there's been a big focus on waste, fraud, and abuse. But I need to join with Congressman Hoyer's points about the IRS. I mean, cutting $2.4 billion from the IRS enforcement provision or section is the exact opposite of what you want to do if you want to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. Congressman Hoyer hosted a shadow hearing. This is one, I guess it's the closest I've come to a substantive hearing during my time here, and he had 4 former commissioners of the Internal Revenue Service come up and testify. One was Mr. Koskinen, who said that he looked at the enforcement cuts that had been proposed, and he said, this is tax cuts for tax cheats. And another one of the commissioners, Fred Goldberg, who served under Bush 41, looked at it as well, and he said, there's at least $250 billion in open cases in the IRS right now. And so if you wanted to actually do better than what DOGE has done from the standpoint of finding cuts and savings, if you actually went through the enforcement process just on open cases in the IRS, you'd beat what they have accomplished, or at least alleged that they've accomplished so far. I think that the overall point, and Stenny touched on this a bit, but this $2.4 billion that we're going to lose over 10 years based on the noncompliance aspect that comes from cutting the enforcement section. And I know that, you know, we've got disagreements. Some of us, we were having disagreements the other day about what the overall cuts for Medicaid would be and the like, but I think this is one of those that's pretty much undisputed. If you have fewer people in enforcement, you're going to have fewer people complying because they know they're going to be able to get away with it, and you're going to be less likely to go after people who are very well-to-do and have very complicated tax returns. I know the arguments you all made about this when Biden put the funding in place was they would focus on, you know, regular people, but my understanding is that they would build out a unit that would focus on the higher wealth corporations and individuals, and that is one way. We disagree about a lot of things, but, you know, getting additional funding with legitimate tax collection, I would think was something we could all agree on. And I'll yield back some of my time, but I do want to say this. I think we can find ways to work together on some of these kinds of issues. This process is a little different than what I'd been used to, even at the Judiciary Committee, if you can believe that. But yeah, I think if we actually try and find ways to work together on some of these provisions, and, you know, whether they actually find the light of day and become law, I don't know. But, you know, we can try at least at the initiation of this, at the beginning of this process, find a way to come together with bipartisan legislation. And I know there's some in this, and I do appreciate the chairman's efforts on that front. But I hope that this is one that we can reconsider, because there's money there to do the things that we want to do. We might disagree about what we would use it for specifically, but there's absolutely no reason to leave this money on the table, because this is money that people owe in taxes fair and square. Let's just put the resources there so we can go collect it. I'll yield what time I have remaining.
Do they eviscerate the ability to enforce?
they have a specific provision. You cannot transfer any money in, whether they need it or not, in the IRS enforcement.
And with that, I